Hi, my name's Scott Coon. You may know me from my short stories or from my debut novel, Lost Helix. In this video, I share a little on writing.
In this video, I talk to you about planet building. Not world building, planet building. I'm not naming names, but a moon should not be all forest, no polar caps, no jungles, no desert. Maybe a scientist can show the math on that one, but to me it's unrealistic. Ice and desert planets make more sense. Even a jungle planet kind of makes sense, but actual life-sustaining planets can be, and actually are, much more interesting than these monoclimates. And honestly, simply recreating Earth with different continents isn't much more interesting in my opinion. If you're a science fiction writer or a fantasy writer, you can create planets that are much more interesting by considering its satellites, star, orbit, and axis. And I'm going to tell you how. But first, Earth. Earth is not normal. Earth is so strange that it probably is unique in our galaxy. And it's because of how our planet was formed. When our solar system was forming, there were two planets in this orbit. Eventually they collided, destroying all that came before. These pieces reformed into the Earth and Moon. Because of this, we have a tilted axis that causes our four seasons, with opposite seasons in the north and south hemispheres. Our axis also wobbles very slowly, causing our regularly scheduled ice ages. The Moon, or Luna as I like to call her, is our only satellite, but it is huge compared to Earth. Mars is 6,796 miles in diameter, and its largest satellite is 14 miles in diameter. It's about 0.2% of its size. The Earth is 12,760 miles in diameter. The Moon is 2,155 miles. 16.8% the size of Earth. No other planet in our solar system has a moon as large as ours relative to the size of the planet it orbits. In size, our moon falls between Mercury, which is 3,024 miles wide, and Pluto, which is 1,413 miles wide. In other words, our moon is more of a planet than Pluto ever was. If the moon were much bigger, Earth and Luna would not be a planet and moon. It would be a planet and planet orbiting around a central point. The only reason why our moon is not a planet is because it's not dominant in its orbit. It orbits us. Our moon causes our tides, which probably impacted the creation of life on our planet, and it protects us from meteors. Many of the craters on the moon could have been mass extinction events here on Earth. We owe a lot to the moon. So let's talk about satellites. Mars, our sister planet, has two asteroid-like moons, the larger one being 14 miles wide. Saturn and Jupiter have rings that are continuously raining meteors on their planets. Within Saturn's ring, tiny moons form and are ripped apart by the planet's gravity. Our moon has played an important role in our civilization. It lit the night so our ancestors could hunt. It has been blamed for lunacy and werewolves. It fills our music and stories. It even helps us measure time. How would all that be different if we had two tiny moons instead? We once used the North Star to navigate. But what if we had a ring instead of a moon? How would that change navigation for our early sailors? What impact would it have on the exploration of our world? Would we have ever thought our planet to be flat? What if our ancestors watched moons form and unform in that ring around our planet? How would that shape our civilization's view of the universe? Would we have a greater sense of impermanence? How would it affect religion and astrology? You were born during a forming moon. That's a positive sign. Play with that. Let's talk about orbit and axis. Orbit and axis come together to create the seasons or lack thereof. Our seasons are caused by our tilted axis. For half of our orbit, The north is tilted toward the sun and the south is tilted away, causing the opposite seasons of the hemispheres. The wobble of our axis causes our ice ages, but our orbit is mostly circular, so it has very little effect. On a planet with a very vertical axis and an elliptical orbit, the seasons would be in sync, all regions experiencing winter at the same time when the planet was furthest from its sun. On a world with a vertical axis and a circular orbit, no seasons would exist. Weather would most likely only change by latitude, so it would get colder when you went to the north and warmer when you went toward the equator. In Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin, the planet he built, which I personally believe to be Earth in our future, their planet experienced the destruction of its moon, sending its axis rolling, causing the unpredictable winters. This wild schedule defines their society. Try imagining worlds with different tilts, wobbles, and orbits, and then try imagining one with none of that. This is called tidal locking. One side is always day, the other is always night. The day side would be desert, while the night side is tundra. In between, where the water melted off the glaciers into the broiling wasteland, a ribbon of life could arise. Who would these creatures be? How would they explore the extreme sides of their planet? So let's talk about stars. Our yellow sun is in a minority of stars. The most common star is the red dwarf, outnumbering all other stars combined in our galaxy 3-1. 1 in 20 red dwarf stars have a planet in the Goldilocks zone, which is the orbital distance where liquid water can form on the surface of a planet, creating life as we know it. If your sci-fi story visits several solar systems, I recommend you make at least a couple of them a red dwarf star. But don't forget about the other types of stars, like blue supergiants and brown dwarves. Study them. Go beyond the yellow. The internet is right in front of you. Watch the latest documentaries about stars and come up with different kinds of planets to orbit them. Now, let's talk about the weird. Earth isn't the only weird thing floating around our galaxy. For example, scientists have discovered a planet that started as a star until its twin stole all its gas, leaving only the carbon. These carbon remains collapsed into a 37,000-mile wide diamond. If you got near it, the gravity would pulp you. Someday it will fall into its sister star and shatter into a billion pieces. Around some gas giants, moons are squeezed and stretched by the planet's gravitational force, creating heat that could support life without the benefit of a Goldilocks zone. Solar systems can be wild when they first form. Planets big and small are sometimes thrown out into space. As such, there are orphan planets wandering between the stars that could have such moons. Dark Eden by Chris Beckett is set on a planet flung away from its star and its galaxy. It drifts through darkness, its atmosphere heated by the biochemical reactions of the life that evolved on it. Scientific theories and pure imagination can take planet building even further. Somewhere between a planet and a spaceship is the Dyson sphere, a shell constructed around a star in the Goldilocks zone. The inhabitants live on the inside of the sphere, having the full benefit of the sun in all directions, at least until the sun goes supernova or whatever. This scientific theory actually appears in an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, episode Relics. In The Bowl of Heaven by Gregory Benford, a place called Cup World is a half Dyson sphere. Fantasy stories can break the planet standard altogether. In Discworld and other works by Terry Pratchett, the planet is on the back of a turtle swimming through space. As absurd as this may sound, Pratchett creates rules for his world and follows them. The result is both entertaining and interesting. And it's not a monoclimate. So as science fiction and fantasy writers, I tell you, take this information, create a really amazing character with a great story ahead of them, and then put them on a planet that nobody has seen before. And be sure to show how the conditions of your planet impact the story and your character.
For more on this and other writing subjects, check out my On Writing page at scottcoonsci-fi.com. Also, check out losthelix.com to learn more about my debut novel, Lost Helix. Thank you.